Hello everyone and welcome to this, the finest video on the internet. Bioware is a name that means a lot of things to a lot of people. Computer RPGs like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, the Star Wars masterpiece Knights of the Old Republic, the fantasy trope-filled adventures of Dragon Age, and the space opera of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. There were a few decades there when the Bioware name meant something. Their games might be vastly different from one another, but they always had heart, strong story elements, and unforgettable characters, all presented as epic single-player games. Hell, even the more recent Dragon Age Inquisition brought characters to life that fans loved. But around the time that EA stamped the Bioware name on Mass Effect Andromeda, a game developed not by the main Bioware team, but by a novice team that shared the name, Bioware started to stand for something else. That is, nothing. Just another brand within EA's stables. But let's not be cynical. I'm sure the core Bioware team was too busy working on a passion project to help with Andromeda, a game that one ex-Bioware employee claims, quote, EA wasn't forcing us to make, end quote. You know you're passionate about a project when you have to say that. So here we are about a week away from Bioware's third-person looter Anthem's 4 different release dates. Let's use hands-on previews, industry knowledge, and our trusty instincts to predict how Anthem will score on Metacritic.
The story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning.
So first, my personal thoughts on Anthem. I've heard a lot of previews saying I didn't love this, but I hope it's good. I hope they do well. I personally don't hope it's good. It might very well be a detriment to the industry if it does well, because it'll reward low effort, low passion, completely business-minded decisions. I see this game as nothing more than an attempt for EA to make its own loot-based multiplayer cash cow. Every giant developer seems to need one of these. Ubi has The Division, Activision had Destiny, and EA wants Anthem to be theirs. Problem is, these are not the most popular types of games anymore, and it's clear that EA saw what was going on with Destiny, demanded Bioware get right on that, and then the player bases started to dry out a bit. Oh, and now another studio in EA stable, Respawn, released a massive hit out of nowhere that's drawing the multiplayer crowd. It's all just very awful timing for an uninspired property like Anthem to release. Now that said, in these prediction videos, I'm not predicting how the fans will react or how successfully the game will sell. I'm predicting how they will score on aggregate review website Metacritic. So without further ado, let's get predicting. Let's start with a solid 70 on the board as a baseline, and considering how much money and time went into this thing and the fact that they have the backing of EA, let's immediately raise it up to an 80. The reason why? Well, the art assets are competent, the gameplay looks fine-ish, I'm sure the sound design is solid, and if Bioware did nothing but follow the template I think they're following, they'll have a competent, albeit pretty boring game on their hands. Still, it's high budget, and reviewers seem to respond well to that. Now, I'm not going to factor in network issues here. There are a lot of people who had a bad time with the beta because of networking issues, but just like Fallout 76, it's not a bad game because it has glitches. It's a bad game that's also filled with glitches. So I'm going to assume that EA will have their servers running perfectly for reviewers, though they might be a mess for players, who knows. The first hit I am going to slap on this game, though, is that it doesn't feel good to play. Giant bombs, skill up, everyone who played the beta is saying that the shooting is weightless and dull, and that is a huge problem. I remember when Destiny came out and everyone was like, there's not a lot going on, but gosh darn it, does it feel good to shoot? Yeah, it should feel good to shoot. Bungie makes nothing but shooters for decades. That's to be expected. With Bioware, throwing them in the shooter space doesn't make a lot of sense. There was a lot of shooting in Mass Effect, but any clunkiness could be forgiven by, it's an RPG kind of. With Anthem, there's no excuse. So I'm going to knock off a full 10 points for its gunplay feeling like garbage, bringing us back to 70. During the development of Anthem, Bioware has stated that no, totally guys, we're still super into story even though we're making a lifeless shooter full of fully armored characters without faces. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that sure, they've built something decent enough to be worth playing through. I highly doubt the story, characters, and world building is going to set the world on fire, but let's toss them 5 points in good faith, bringing us to 75. I think the main point that will hurt Anthem though is that it's not coming out 5 years ago. Even if they did manage to follow the design document from Destiny and The Division, and even if they managed to enhance aspects of those games with more open mission design, a balanced economy from day one, and exciting and plentiful raids as well as endgame content, it's still all been done before, in games that feel better to play, I might add. Let's also remember that at the time of release, Destiny scored a not fantastic 76, while The Division scored an 80. Anthem should definitely score less than these. So based on the fact that Anthem has no need to exist, that it's generally looking at what other games have done and saying, sure, we'll do that, I'd drop the score further to a 70. Now from here we can add in some rough spots in need of polish and potentially aggressive microtransactions, and I could easily bring this game down to scoring around a 67 or less. And listen, I could be wrong. Anthem could be the game of the generation. But even if you think this game will be great, I urge you not to pre-order, not to buy until reviews are out. I've listed issues that have been cited over and over through hands-on previews as well as the beta. If this game does turn out well, it should be a surprise because it shows every sign of being a mess and potentially the last game Bioware ever makes. As always, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, leave a comment telling me why I'm wrong, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, chop down a tree, build a house, and live off the land. Until next time, guys, thanks again for watching. See ya.